I first saw it, I thought that this was a US-made, very advanced next-generation fighter.
Bob Lazar's name has floated through UFO circles for more than 3 decades, always wrapped in equal parts fascination and controversy. In 1989, he described a seamless alien reactor capable of bending gravity itself, a revelation many scientists instantly dismissed as pure fantasy. For years, his story lived on the fringe, an entertaining legend that skeptics cited as proof of how easily myth can masquerade as science. Then, on a warm March evening in 2025, an event in the tranquil Colombian city of Buga jolted that old legend back to life. Residents looked skyward to witness something that defied not only the limits of technology but the imagination itself. A metallic sphere that darted across the heavens, pivoting and accelerating in impossible ways. Within hours, whispers of alien technology began to circulate on social media. When locals reached the crash site on the outskirts of town, they found not a smoldering wreck, but an object that appeared eerily flawless, smooth, reflective, and oddly beautiful. The so-called Buga Sphere, as it quickly became known, carried details that resonated with Lazar's decades-old description: seamless construction, hidden internals, and an uncanny resemblance to a miniaturized reactor. Coincidence? Evidence? Or simply another chapter in the long history of mysterious objects that ignite speculation only to fade under scientific scrutiny? The Buga Sphere story refuses to fit neatly into any category. Instead, it invites us into a mystery where science, skepticism, and wonder collide. On March 2, 2025, the normally quiet streets of Buga, a colonial city known more for its basilica than breaking news, became the stage for a spectacle. Around 9:15 p.m., locals reported a brilliant flash streaking across the sky. At first, some thought it was a meteor or perhaps a military flare. But the object didn't behave like anything ordinary. Witnesses described a metallic sphere, perhaps 3 feet in diameter, glinting under the moonlight. It darted in abrupt zigzags, accelerated with shocking speed, and then, as several onlookers swore, came to a dead stop, suspended in the air as if gravity itself had been turned off. A moment later, it shot forward again, disappearing behind a ridge only to reappear seconds later, this time descending toward a field at the edge of town. Families standing outside for the warm evening air gasped as it dropped without the faintest sound of an engine or propeller. It did not explode. There was no sonic boom or telltale smoke trail. Instead, the sphere simply settled into the dirt with an elegance that unnerved those who saw it. When the first curious residents arrived, they found a gleaming orb half buried in soft earth. Flashlights bounced off its surface, revealing an uncanny perfection: no dents, no scorch marks, and most surprising, no visible seams or welds. It looked less like debris from a crash and more like an intentional piece of advanced engineering. Among the first to examine it was José Luis Velázquez, a local researcher with a background in metallurgy and materials science. Velázquez later recalled his initial astonishment. It was as though the object had been cast in a single piece by some process we don't yet understand. No joints, no rivets, nothing that suggested assembly. For engineers, that detail alone raised eyebrows. Even the most sophisticated aerospace components leave microscopic clues of machining or bonding. Here, there were none. Velázquez and a small team transported the sphere to a secure facility for analysis. Their first step was a non-destructive X-ray scan. According to their statements to Colombian news outlets, the internal images were baffling. Rather than a solid chunk of metal, the sphere revealed a nested architecture: 3 concentric layers of differing densities, each perfectly fitted inside the other. At the core rested 9 smaller microspheres arranged in an exact geometric pattern, like marbles placed with mathematical precision. Such complexity did not fit any obvious terrestrial use. "I have never seen a piece like this," Velázquez told a local reporter, stressing that it resembled no known industrial component, satellite fragment, or art installation. His words quickly spread beyond Colombia. Within 48 hours, International outlets from People to major science blogs ran headlines like, "Mysterious orb crashes in Colombia, scientists baffled." Videos of Velázquez carefully handling the shimmering object went viral, drawing millions of views and a storm of speculation. Was it a fragment of secret military technology, a downed extraterrestrial probe, or an elaborate hoax designed to fool experts and thrill the internet? The more people saw of the Buga Sphere, the more the mystery deepened. Its surface remained flawless even under magnification. It emitted no radiation, no heat signature beyond ambient temperature, and produced a faint but measurable magnetic field that fluctuated unpredictably. While Velázquez maintained scientific caution, he admitted the object's craftsmanship was beyond anything I have personally encountered, a statement that poured fuel on the global fascination. For seasoned UFO researchers, the event recalled the Buga Sphere of 1974, a mysterious metal ball discovered in Florida that allegedly moved on its own and emitted strange sounds. That case, too, captivated the public before later analyses pointed to more mundane origins, possibly a component of industrial machinery. The Buga Sphere seemed like a modern echo, but its internal complexity and that mesmerizing dance through the sky set it apart. The world's reaction was immediate and polarized. Social media platforms lit up with hashtags like #ABugaSphere and AlienTech. Some users confidently proclaimed the orb as the first tangible evidence of extraterrestrial visitors. Others dismissed it as an obvious prank, perhaps a high-end drone with a theatrical crash plan. Physicist Julia Mossbridge offered a more measured voice. In a series of interviews, she urged caution and scientific rigor. Objects can appear extraordinary without being anomalous, she explained, reminding audiences that unique alloys, art installations, and advanced prototypes can all surprise casual observers. She even suggested that a highly skilled artist or collective could have engineered the sphere as a deliberate provocation, meant to spark exactly the kind of debate that now raged worldwide. Mossbridge and other scientists highlighted key missing elements: no peer-reviewed study of the object's composition, no isotopic analysis to determine whether its metals matched terrestrial sources, and no verified chain of custody ensuring the sphere hadn't been altered before testing. Without these basics, any extraordinary claims were premature. Independent skeptics pointed out that Velázquez's team had released only photographs and brief summaries, not the raw X-ray data or metallurgical reports that would allow other laboratories to replicate their findings. In the absence of open data, speculation risked outpacing evidence. "Science thrives on reproducibility," Mossbridge said. "Until we have that, we're dealing with anecdotes, not proof." Meanwhile, conspiracy forums seized on the lack of transparency as proof of a government cover-up. Rumors spread that Colombian authorities had quietly transferred the sphere to a military facility. Others insisted private collectors were bidding secretly to acquire it. None of these claims were substantiated, but they added drama to an already electric narrative. The incident also caught the attention of the Harvard-based Galileo Project, a research group focused on unidentified aerial phenomena. Though the team issued no official statement, several members privately expressed interest in examining the sphere under controlled conditions. For now, however, Velázquez retained possession, promising more rigorous tests in the months ahead. What happens next will determine whether the Buga Sphere joins the short list of genuine scientific enigmas or fades into folklore. For any extraordinary object, the pathway to credibility is well established: controlled laboratory testing, transparent methodology, and peer-reviewed publication. Material composition analysis could reveal whether the sphere contains unusual isotopic ratios, which might hint at non-terrestrial origin. Structural imaging using advanced tomography could verify the reported internal layers and microspheres. Spectroscopy could identify exotic alloys or treatments beyond current manufacturing capabilities. Each of these steps requires not just sophisticated equipment, but also a chain of custody and open data, so that independent labs can confirm or refute every finding. If the sphere truly represents technology beyond current human capabilities, rigorous tests will reveal it. If it is an art project or a cleverly fabricated hoax, those same tests will just as surely expose the truth. Either way, hype and rumor are no substitutes for scientific scrutiny. To understand why the Buga Sphere resonates so strongly, we need to revisit 1989, when Bob Lazar first stepped into the public eye. Appearing on Las Vegas television with his face shadowed and voice altered, Lazar claimed to have worked at a covert facility called S4 near Area 51. His task, he said, was to reverse engineer alien spacecraft. Central to his testimony was a power source unlike anything on Earth, a seamless, basketball-sized reactor capable of bending gravity. Lazar described it as a smooth dome about 18 inches across, flawless and free of welds or seams. Inside, he claimed, was a chip of element 115, surrounded by smaller spheres arranged in a precise geometric pattern. This configuration, he asserted, allowed the reactor to amplify gravity waves, enabling a craft to manipulate mass and inertia. With its effective mass reduced, the craft could make instantaneous stops or right-angle turns, movements strikingly similar to those witnesses described over Buga. At the time, mainstream scientists dismissed his account as impossible. Element 115 wasn't on the periodic table. Gravity couldn't be generated or manipulated with a machine, and the seamless construction he described seemed like science fiction. Critics labeled Lazar a fabricator seeking attention, but in 2003, researchers in Russia synthesized element 115, later named moscovium. Although the created isotopes decayed in milliseconds, far too unstable for power generation, the discovery lent an unexpected sliver of credibility to Lazar's claims. He had, after all, named the correct atomic number more than a decade before official recognition. Was that sheer luck, an informed guess, or genuine inside knowledge? Despite that coincidence, physics still stands in the way of Lazar's narrative. All known moscovium isotopes are short-lived, disintegrating almost instantly. No stable isotope exists to support sustained energy production. Moreover, gravity remains one of nature's least understood forces. Theoretical physics entertains ideas of gravitons and quantum fields, but no peer-reviewed experiments have demonstrated a method to create localized distortions of space-time. Engineers cannot simply turn down mass or inertia with a compact device. Extraordinary claims demand extraordinary evidence, and to date, no empirical proof of a gravity-bending reactor has surfaced. Despite the scientific hurdles, Lazar's story endures. Supporters note that he accurately described aspects of Area 51's layout and culture at a time when the U.S. government still denied the base's existence. They argue this insider knowledge hints that at least part of his tale might be true. Skeptics counter that these details could be deduced from public information or obtained through contacts, and that Lazar's academic and employment records show inconsistencies. The Buga Sphere rekindles this debate. Its seamless design and nested internal architecture echo elements of Lazar's reactor description. Some UFO researchers see this as validation, suggesting the sphere could be a fragment of the very technology Lazar once studied. Others caution that similarity in appearance does not equate to functional equivalence. A visually comparable object can still be entirely terrestrial. For now, both camps wait for data. Without transparent scientific analysis, the sphere remains a blank canvas onto which believers and skeptics alike project their expectations. Whether it ultimately proves to be exotic technology, cutting-edge art, or clever misdirection, its story highlights humanity's persistent yearning for contact with the unknown. When the Buga Sphere was first shown to the world, its most captivating feature was not what it could do, but what it seemed to hide. A flawless exterior encasing a complex interior mirrors our own relationship with mystery itself. What lies beneath appearances often challenges our assumptions. If rigorous testing eventually shows that the sphere is merely an ingenious human creation, it will stand as a testament to our capacity for artistry and engineering. If, against all odds, it proves to be something beyond our world, it will redefine our understanding of physics and our place in the cosmos. Either way, the object invites us to look deeper, beyond the seamless shell, to confront our fascination with the unexplained. Like Lazar's tantalizing but unverified reactor, the Buga Sphere demands patience, skepticism, and curiosity in equal measure. Until the science is done, it remains both a mirror and a mystery. As the media storm intensified, Colombian authorities released only a short statement confirming that an unidentified metallic object had been recovered near Buga. Beyond that, silence. Officials declined to say whether the sphere had been moved to a government lab or left in the custody of Velázquez's team. This reticence ignited a wildfire of conjecture. Some locals claimed to have seen military trucks near the field days after the crash, while others swore they witnessed helicopters hovering low at night, their searchlights sweeping the terrain. None of these sightings have been substantiated, but the absence of official transparency became fertile ground for speculation. International observers quickly joined the conversation. Journalists asked whether Colombia had contacted agencies like NASA or the European Space Agency. There was no comment. UFO researchers speculated about cooperation with the United States, drawing comparisons to the long-debated Roswell incident of 1947. The Colombian government's cautious approach may simply reflect procedural prudence. Any unidentified object could pose safety, security, or legal concerns. Yet in the public imagination, silence often reads as secrecy. Each unanswered question only deepened the mystery and lent credibility, however unfairly, to the idea of a cover-up. Within weeks, the Buga Sphere became more than a scientific puzzle. It became a cultural phenomenon. Street vendors sold miniature silver orbs as souvenirs. Artists created murals depicting the object descending through a star-filled sky. Local tourism spiked as visitors arrived hoping to glimpse the crash site, now fenced off but still visible from nearby hills. Online, the sphere inspired fan art, podcasts, and lengthy YouTube analyses dissecting every available photograph. Musicians sampled the metallic resonance of recordings taken during early examinations to create eerie soundscapes. Hashtags like Mimic Sphere Style began trending as fashion designers produced reflective clothing lines in homage to its otherworldly sheen. Sociologists observed how quickly the event tapped into a universal appetite for mystery. In a world awash with data and instant answers, the sphere offered something rare, a question with no quick resolution. Whether people believed in aliens or not, they were drawn to the shared wonder of the unexplained. While some observers jumped to extraterrestrial conclusions, engineers and material scientists proposed more grounded theories. One possibility, the sphere could be an experimental aerospace component, perhaps a part of an advanced propulsion or surveillance system. Military contractors occasionally test exotic alloys and novel shapes to study aerodynamics or stealth capabilities. Another hypothesis centers on additive manufacturing. With cutting-edge 3D printing techniques, it is theoretically possible to produce a seamless metallic object by layering material within a mold, then polishing it to perfection. If the Buga Sphere were a test piece for such technology, the internal microspheres might serve as calibration, nodes or structural reinforcements. Critics of these explanations point to the reported flight, behavior, sudden stops, and right angle maneuvers that no known drone or aircraft can replicate. Yet skeptics counter that eyewitness testimony can be unreliable, especially at night when distance and scale distort perception. A well-programmed drone swarm or optical illusion might have created the impression of a single zigzagging orb until controlled experiments verify the object's properties. These technological theories remain speculative. Still, they provide plausible pathways that do not require a leap to alien engineering. The Buga Sphere arrives amid a global resurgence of interest in unidentified aerial phenomena, UAP. Governments from the United States to Japan have launched formal investigations, acknowledging that some aerial sightings defy conventional explanation. In this climate, any mysterious artifact naturally draws intense scrutiny. Astrophysicists point out that true confirmation of extraterrestrial technology would be epoch-defining, demanding irrefutable evidence, repeatable experiments, isotopic anomalies, and materials beyond known earthly composition. That bar is intentionally high. Extraordinary claims demand extraordinary proof, says Dr. Helena Suarez of the National University of Columbia. One object, no matter how strange, cannot rewrite physics without rigorous, peer-reviewed data. Suarez and others argue that whether the sphere is alien, human-made, or even an elaborate art piece, the disciplined process of investigation, spectrometry, microscopy, structural tomography, is what ultimately advances science. The real story may be less about what the sphere is, and more about how humanity confronts the unknown. Months after the crash, the Buga Sphere continues to hover in the global imagination. Perhaps it will ultimately prove mundane, a brilliantly engineered sculpture or a misidentified research device. Perhaps against all odds, it will reveal properties that challenge current science. Whatever the conclusion, the saga underscores a deeper truth. People are drawn to the edge of the known. From the Bet Sphere of the 1970s to Bob Lazar's gravity-bending reactor, stories like this invite us to dream, to question, and to investigate. They remind us that curiosity itself is a powerful force, one capable of bending the gravity of our attention long before we master the physics of space-time. As the weeks passed, laboratories beyond Columbia began expressing curiosity. A research consortium in Germany publicly offered to conduct independent isotopic testing, while a Japanese materials science team proposed using synchrotron radiation to map the sphere's inner layers in nanoscopic detail. These proposals highlighted a key scientific principle. Only through multi-institutional, peer-reviewed studies could any extraordinary claims survive. Yet arranging such cooperation proved complicated. Velázquez's group worried about losing custody of the object, while government agencies hesitated to ship a potentially strategic artifact overseas. Diplomatic cables reportedly discussed the legal status of unknown aerospace objects, reflecting concerns about export controls and intellectual property. Each delay only added to public impatience and fueled rumors that powerful interests were jockeying for first rights to the sphere's secrets. The mystery also carried economic consequences. Hotels in Buga reported record occupancy rates as curiosity seekers and journalists poured in. Local artisans sold silver-painted replicas, and small tour companies began offering night sky safaris that retraced the sphere's reported flight path. Investors quietly approached Velázquez to discuss potential patents should the material composition prove novel or commercially valuable. Economists noted how rapidly a single unexplained object could spark a mini-industry, turning scientific ambiguity into real revenue. While skeptics cautioned that the boom might fade once the mystery resolved, many locals welcomed the unexpected prosperity, treating the sphere as both enigma and economic windfall. Psychologists found fertile ground in the Buga case for studying collective perception. Why are communities so quick to interpret ambiguous lights or objects as proof of extraterrestrial visitation? Cognitive scientists point to the brain's tendency toward pattern recognition and narrative creation, abilities that helped our ancestors survive but can also mislead. Group dynamics amplified these effects. Shared excitement, social media echo chambers, and the prestige of being there first all reinforce extraordinary interpretations. Dr. Camila Ortega, a cognitive psychologist in Bogotá, summarized it. When reality presents a riddle, our minds rush to fill in the blanks, often with the most thrilling explanation available. Not everyone accepted the prevailing mystery. A coalition of amateur astronomers launched their own inquiry, examining air traffic data, satellite imagery, and regional radar logs from the night of March 2nd. They found no anomalies in commercial or military flight records, but they did detect brief signal disturbances consistent with a small drone swarm. Their report argued that synchronized drones could produce the observed zigzag pattern and apparent mid-air stops, especially if augmented by reflective surfaces and clever lighting. While not conclusive, the analysis demonstrated that terrestrial explanations, though less romantic, remained plausible. Velázquez acknowledged their work, noting that rigorous debate strengthens the investigation rather than undermines it. Looking forward, scientists outline a series of decisive experiments, ultra-high-resolution electron microscopy to identify grain structures, laser-induced breakdown spectroscopy for elemental mapping, and cryogenic testing to observe any superconductive behavior. Each would require controlled access and a documented chain of custody to satisfy peer review. Standards International. Collaboration could also include gravitational anomaly detection, placing the sphere in highly sensitive torsion balances to check for minute deviations from standard gravitational interaction. Such tests would directly address the more sensational claims of gravity manipulation, either validating or decisively refuting them. The Buga Sphere underscores a recurring challenge: how to balance public curiosity with scientific caution. Rapid viral sharing spreads unverified details far faster than formal research can proceed, creating an environment where speculation often outpaces evidence. For scientists, communicating uncertainty becomes as important as performing the experiments themselves. Institutions like the Galileo Project advocate open data first policies for anomalous findings. By publishing raw measurements and methodologies, they aim to build trust and reduce the temptation for sensationalism. The Sphere's saga may ultimately serve as a textbook case in how, or how not, to present extraordinary discoveries to a global audience. Whether the Buga Sphere proves to be an alien artifact, an experimental aerospace device, or a dazzling human artwork, it now occupies a place in the long chronicle of unexplained phenomena. From the Tunguska event to the Bet Sphere and modern UAP hearings, each mystery reflects humanity's enduring drive to explore the unknown. Future generations may study the Buga incident not only for its scientific outcome, but also for what it reveals about culture, psychology, and the interplay between skepticism and wonder. Whatever the final verdict, the sphere has already bent the gravity of public attention, a feat no less remarkable than the physics it is rumored to defy. As the months stretched on, a new debate surfaced. Who actually owns the Buga Sphere? International law regarding unidentified aerial objects is murky. Colombia's constitution vests mineral resources and treasures of scientific value in the state, yet Velázquez's team physically recovered the sphere on private farmland. Some legal scholars liken it to maritime salvage law. Possession may depend on who retrieved it first, while others argue that a find with potential defense implications defaults to the federal government. Insurance companies also entered the discussion, speculating about liability if the sphere were proven to be hazardous or if private handling resulted in damage. The legal wrangling underscored how a single unexplained object can challenge frameworks meant for far more ordinary disputes. From the first blurry smartphone videos, the Buga story became a global media contest. Rival outlets rushed to secure interviews, sometimes offering appearance fees or promising exclusive rights to data. Several early reports cited unnamed insiders, claiming exotic properties. Stories later walked back or retracted. Media critics pointed to this as a cautionary tale. The public's hunger for spectacle can pressure journalists to prioritize speed over accuracy. Editors now cite the Buga coverage in seminars about responsible science reporting, illustrating how the chase for clicks can amplify rumor and complicate genuine investigation. The sphere also sparked reflection across spiritual communities. Local church leaders framed it as a reminder of creation's vastness, while some New Age groups heralded it as a sign of interstellar guides. Philosophers used the event to discuss humanity's place in the cosmos. If the object were extraterrestrial, how would it reshape concepts of uniqueness or divine intention? Even skeptics acknowledge that the incident invited a kind of cosmic humility. Whether alien or earthly, the sphere prompted people to imagine realities larger than their daily concerns, a rare intersection of science and spirituality. Environmental. Scientists quietly monitored the crash site for potential contamination. Initial soil samples showed no heavy metal spikes, but long-term observation continues to ensure that any exotic alloy does not leach harmful compounds. The Colombian Ministry of Environment highlighted the episode as a case study in preparedness. Even a small foreign object can present ecological uncertainties that require rapid, methodical response. Educators quickly recognized the Buga Sphere as a powerful teaching tool. Schools organized debates on scientific method versus speculation, while university physics departments incorporated the sphere's reported properties into coursework on materials, science, and orbital mechanics.